Welcome to the UEFA Europa League final preview. Dave, Chris, good to have you guys. Let's get straight down to it. Sevilla versus Liverpool, Liverpool versus Sevilla. It's happening in Basel. People say it's a tiny stadium. It's going to be a good atmosphere. And Liverpool and Sevilla fans both bring a great atmosphere to any final. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out dynamically within the stadium. We all know 20,000 corporate tickets very often can lead to a lot more Liverpool fans, but also a good atmosphere. Sense the tone. Dave, first of all, going to come to you because Sevilla are the top billing here. Maybe not in the UK, but in the rest of Europe. Because these guys could win it for the third time in a row. And I think it's the fifth final they've reached.
Yeah, I think they're a side that have got a lot of tactical flexibility about them. Unai Emery's done a great job since he's been there. How they're going to set up is the classic 4-2-3-1 system, but they'll drop into a 4-4-2 shape without the ball like a lot of teams do in Europe. David Serrare is going to be the goalkeeper, and have Mariano at right back. A very interesting player, a Brazilian, so he likes to get forward. Scored an absolute wonderful goal in the semi-final, but a little bit suspect defensively. Rami and Carrasco will be the two centre-backs, and Tremolines at left-back. Midfield's quite interesting as well. We've got Premier League old boys Steven and Zonzi next to Craiova, and Zonzi's going to hold, and Craiova, as we know, box-to-box. Great type of player getting into those zones and creating and tackling and doing everything. The three behind the main striker is going to be either Banega is going to be central, very crucial to this side, the dictating playmaker. He'll get the ball and he'll try and make this Sevilla side tick. I think he's going to go with Koke on the right to sort of maybe cover Mariano. Koke naturally is a fullback, so it's sort of like Sevilla playing two fullbacks on that side to deal with Philippe Coutinho, one of Liverpool's form players this season. Vitolo will be sitting on that left-hand side, a tricky winger that also puts in a lot of work. And then the main man, Kevin Gramero up front. Sevilla will look at any opportunity to try and get him in behind. He's great at running into the channels or directly in front. And Sevilla just look, even if it's from defence, from midfield, they'll try and get him in behind to create those 1v1 opportunities for him.
Chris, I think that's what's going to be interesting, isn't it? Is how Liverpool counter that. Obviously, we're looking at a number of injuries for this side or players racing to get into the final, including Chan, Henderson, possibly even Torre just looking to be fit. It doesn't look like we'll see Origi in time, which probably means Liverpool will play up front with the likes of Firmino in almost a false nine. Like Davis said before, Sturridge just sort of off and drifting a little bit towards one of the wings. Coutinho just off that, leaving almost a Lallana, Milner, Chan shape just behind it that seems to rotate depending on whether they're defending or corner or whatever you want to say. So, I mean, is that the best that Liverpool can do at this point?
I think so. I think what we've come to realise with this team is that actually, for all of the options that he's got, the best team has very quickly come to the fore, I think, relative to the style and the way that he wants them to play, more importantly. I think it's important that sometimes we characterise players as good or bad. I think it's more a case of who's good or bad for the system. Yeah. And if we look at, I think, the centre of defence, that's perhaps the one concern you've got, because if Kolo Touré isn't fit or isn't past fit, then you're looking to potentially bring Lucas in there. And I certainly see why people want him phased into the defence slowly as his career kind of ebbs towards the end. I don't think then in the Europa League final is a good opportunity to give him that test, because Kevin Gumero
I feel like now is the time for us to test you at your best. Go! Oh, shit!
Yeah. It's a bit like learning to drive and then being asked to do the Monaco Grand Prix on day two. It's a steep learning curve to play against someone like Kevin Gumero because his movement is so good. He's such a traditional poacher in that sense. And it's no surprise to me that even at PSG, where he was seen as someone that didn't succeed, he had a fairly decent goal return for them. And I think the fact that he's so central to Sevilla's success is because of that movement and that danger. And if I'm a Liverpool fan or if I'm Jurgen Klopp, I just want someone who's always been a defender there, someone who understands the nuances of the position.
That's fair enough, because actually, Dave, there have been times where Liverpool have looked quite porous this season. They've had shades of the beginning of the season, but also they're, obviously because of the fluidity of the way that Klopp, maybe unusually for what some people characterised him when he first arrived at Liverpool, the fluidity of that side sort of allows other teams to pull them around a little bit and maybe make some gaps, if you like, I want to say. Especially when you've got maybe Emre Can and Milner sitting at the central midfield. They're not both classic holding midfielders. They will sit, but that doesn't mean that they're doing the classic holding midfield job, which maybe will be a role for Lucas on the night if they need that. But the point would be with maybe when Liverpool were playing Chelsea, and obviously some problems with West Brom, was that they got pulled all over the place when the ball was switched. And not only that, but Liverpool are having to make so many last-ditch tackles that against a side like Sevilla, who can explode and they've got some really surprising and powerful players, that's not necessarily the way you want to be playing the guys that are going for a triple Corona.
Yeah, I think Emre Can's going to be crucial to defending the counter-attack. Against Manchester United, he kind of killed them on the break. He won 8 tackles in that game, 3 more than any other player on the pitch. But what he was good at is getting close to the central midfielders in that zone and just killing it off, just killing the moves, breaking it down, whether it's an interception, whether it's just a clearance or a tackle. Absolutely crucial at doing that. He's going to have a big battle up against Banega. Banega's so good at drifting, finding that pocket of space, pulling. If, for example, Chan goes man-to-man with him, Banega will be happy to come deep, drop into central midfield and open up that space for the likes of Vitolo to operate. So Liverpool have got to be very tactically aware dealing with the Sevilla side. So this Sevilla side have scored the most goals in the knockout stage of the Champions League, and they're very, very good in the transition. And one thing that you mentioned before is that quick switch of play, killing Liverpool on the break at the moment. Sevilla could do that down to a T with playing those 2 right-backs on that right-hand side and then switching it over to left to Vitolo to really cause some trouble on the counter-attack. Sevilla scored a few brilliant goals in the semi-final against Shakhtar that were on the break. The second goal in the second leg, they recovered the ball in that right-back zone, went up the other end of the pitch, and they scored 26 seconds later. A cracking Kryhovac through ball to that man Kevin Gramero, dummied the keeper and slid the ball away. So something Liverpool have got to be aware of dealing with that break and potentially not pushing their fullbacks up too high up the pitch, because that spacing behind, Sevilla eat you up and they'll kill you.
But Chris, it's not like Sevilla don't have their own issues in that sense. I know that we can talk about the combinations they've got in the field and the danger of Banega, but they also haven't had a great away from home record this season.
No, they're the only team in Europe's top 5 leagues not to win an away game. And when you think of some of the really poor sides that have been relegated this year, that's quite a damning statistic. I think you could also say there's maybe a little bit of weight of expectation on them in the sense that if they do win, this will be the first time that the Europa League or the UEFA Cup and the Champions League have had the same winner from the same country 3 years in a row. So it will be of Spain the last 3 years, because obviously we have an all-Spanish Champions League final. I just think as well, there's certain concerns I have with, in terms of whether you shut Banega down and then putting the ball onto the likes of Nzonzi and Kryhovac in those key spaces, because yes, the numbers are negligible on long passes and their success rates, etc. But I think this is a moment for Banega to really show that he's worth the hype, because that's the other thing as well, is that he's been linked to Inter. His career has essentially been about him being this huge potential with such an abundance. So I haven't seen it come to the fore enough, I think, in the big moments.
Could you say the opposite, Chris, about the guy who left Inter for Liverpool, Coutinho?
I think in many ways he finds himself in a similar boat, in the sense that he's looking for that moment. The talk when he left Inter was it was because of injuries, and I do believe that, because he did pick up a lot of sort of small injuries. They weren't big, kind of serious ones. They tended to be little strains and such like that kept him out for a few weeks here and there.
That does tend to happen when, especially certain young players go to Italy. They want them to beef up very quickly, and it sort of leads to many small strains in the muscles because they're working out at the same time. It seemed like Liverpool have dealt with that and sort of found another regime for him, if you like.
That's what I found most curious about his move to England, is that in an arguably more physically demanding league, his body is held up completely fine. I think he is looking for that moment, though, because this is the thing that all critics of Coutinho will throw his way, is that he's not consistent enough, that he can't define the huge, really big games when he's needed, and that he can be too hot and cold. If you do it in a Europa League final, I think you've silenced your doubters for at least a decent period of time.
At least until you fail in the Champions League.
Well, the thing is, it's I think just in general, it's time for him to step up now, because again, it's going to be a big summer for Liverpool. They'll have money to spend. They'll have a new manager. It's time for him to show that he can be part of that team, and a big part of that team as well. It's
obviously also pretty clear that it will be a big summer for Liverpool if they were to win the Europa League, because that means Champions League football next season. And that's obviously a massive draw for those players. So there's not pressure. Well, there is. But there's not pressure on the team, but there is a different kind of pressure on that team. Leading me to see what that pressure is going to make. Dave, What are you saying?
The game is going to be won in the transition for me. Sevilla are really good at sitting deep and intercepting the ball in crucial areas. They've made 44 interceptions more than any other side in the Europa League this season in the knockout stages. So basically, it's going to be that battle. When Sevilla just win the ball, can Liverpool instantly win it back? Again, another stat. Liverpool have won more tackles than any other side in the Europa League this season in the opposition's half. So it's when that ball comes, Sevilla intercept it. If Liverpool can't win it back, Sevilla can play out of the press. Sevilla will kill you on the break. And that is what it's going to be. It's going to be a big battle of the transition. For me, Sevilla are going to take it 3-2. Kevin Gramero brace and a Vitolo winner.
Kristen.
I think Liverpool will win it. I think it will be 2-1. And I base that partly on as I said, the poor away form that Sevilla have shown this season. I also think that, again, the way in which Liverpool play, I'm not sure if Sevilla can cope with that. I have slight concerns with the centre-back pairing there and how they handle that. And again, it's all ifs and buts and theorising. I think if Liverpool can put the ball onto Sevilla's centre-backs and give them a lot more sort of responsibility, then they can really cause them trouble. And I think we'll see goals, definitely. It could easily be 4-3, 2-1. 3-2. I just think it will end with a Liverpool victory.
That's why I'm going 5-4 Liverpool. Shades of Alaves, shades of McAllister scoring late, shades of shading it. But let's see, it's going to be a fascinating game. I think it is, like we said, it's going to be really great open football. We'd love to know what you guys think the score's going to be in the comments below, who you think the key players are going to be. And obviously, we'll cover all that on the podcast later in the week. Dave, it's been great to have you. Kristen, you as well. And we'll see you guys again real soon on Tier 3.